Alright.
Are you going to be a minute?
Nah, we're back on.
Okay, next pause. I'm going to heat my coffee a little, okay?
I mean, we can just cut the mic and you can do it now if you want.
No, let's continue.
Alright. So, this week, I had just another, what I call, stereotypical alt-right condescension accusations where, to just give you a setup example, I remember leading up to the 2020 election, there was a lot of controversy over the Hunter Biden laptop and if it was even real and blah, blah, blah. And, there was a story about how 50 plus something former CIA people, those very trustworthy people that I love so much, said it reeked of Russian disinformation. And then I see some article, not ex-person, but someone who's actually in some defense department, some head bureau chief of whatever, say, no, it's probably, excuse say, no, probably not. And I just mentioned this story to my mother, who says, her response, I shit you not, is, Malcolm, do you believe in COVID? You believe COVID is real? And I'm just like, Mom, what the fuck?
Right.
So, just a very sort of disconnect where I'm Mr. Alex Jones or whatever for citing the New York Times or Washington Post or whatever, But, so this week...
Well, I'm lost. Why was she bringing up COVID?
Because if I didn't believe that the Hunter laptop story was Russian disinformation, clearly that I've just been down the rabbit hole and I obviously believe all kinds of zany shit. I can't remember the... Excuse me.
Grab a fistful.
Exact author of it, but there was this laughable hierarchy of conspiracy theories of kind of a pyramid or reverse pyramid where it's things that actually happen and it's this and that, things that might have happened, and it has Iran-Contra in there for some reason, and then it's white supremacy alt-right level, and it's it's such this wide net where white supremacists, Jews run the media, whatever, is in the same category as flat earth. If someone walked up to me and said, I believe the earth is flat, I don't think the appropriate response is, therefore you hate black people.
Right.
It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
So what was this inverted pyramid? I mean, was it a research design they were using?
I think it was just some fucking blog or something.
Like a model,
Yeah, it was like a chart. To rank all of today's hot conspiracy theories, and if you believe this one, you're off the rails crazy or whatever.
Exactly.
So, and it's such a lazy wide net where it's if you go one thing against the narrative, you obviously believe everything that is on opposition and you're the enemy and blah blah blah. So I had another incident this week where I haven't been following the Arizona race at all. I don't really give a crap, but just some videos popped up of Katie Hobbs ducking the debate and having these really pathetic answers to things, and I haven't really looked much into her at all, but my impressions, she seems just a very weak candidate, and the sort of her justification for dodging debates and stuff is just really weak. And I saw a clip of Carrie Lake sending her people to dress up like chickens in front of her office and cluck and whatever, just silly stuff. But I just said, oh yeah, Katie Hobbs, avoiding that debate, not a good look. And they go, oh my god, you love Carrie Lake, she's an election denier, blah blah. I'm I didn't say a fucking thing about Carrie Lake. I've seen...
Who was this, your mother said this? Yeah.
Both my parents actually, but I've seen 2 interviews with Carrie Lake, and to be honest, I don't feel like I know her. I just don't. But I know she's fucking hot, but...
Well, I mean, what comes to the good-looking candidates.
I mean, Republicans have an edge.
Hands down, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so my dad left the room soon thereafter, and then, I told my mom, like, oh yeah, Katie Hobbs won debate Carrie Lake. And she's like, what do you mean? You're out of your mind. You just hear, like, one thing on your crazy podcast and you just believe it.
You said Katie Hobbs wants to date?
No, she will not debate.
Oh, will not debate, okay.
She will not date Carrie Lake, and she will not debate Carrie Lake. And both are a form of cowardice. But I just, like, mentioned this to her, and she says, like, I'm just this misinformation machine. And then I'm like, well, let's pull up my phone, Google. I just search Katie Hobbs debate, NBC News, Katie Hobbs won debate, Washington Post, should Katie Hobbs debate, like, fucking Arizona Press, Katie Hobbs still won't debate, like, every single fucking article. And I'm just like, can you stop telling me that I'm just completely making shit up out of nowhere? Like, I just heard 1 5-second clip of an Alex Jones thing, and I'm like, I know everything about this subject. I'm sick of it. And I'm wondering, how do you break people out of that matrix? If you can.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I just proved to her, like, there's been these incidents where she says, like, it's like, or my sister would say, that's like a Breitbart, whatever. And I'm like, this is your sacred New York Times, Washington. And not even that. I hate the brand shit. But, like, just look at the article if it's detailed or not. But I know for them, all you have to say is Washington Post, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's like, there's no debate. It's the, it's very akin to what I think Rothbard called, like, the shaman class that dictates sort of the culture and thought and, whatever.
Do you think, what percentage, it's not a good way to answer it, ask it, but it's another way to do it. Percentage of families debate politics as much as yours?
We never really plan to debate ever. It just will come up spontaneously. And I'll say something like that I think is just like a totally verifiable fact, but I'll be treated like I'm just spreading a rumor.
What triggers it? Like, somebody might be on TV doing a debate or something?
I think just if it breaks...
It breaks, okay.
I think if it breaks from the mainstream narrative or the preconceptions, like, I don't know anything about Katie Hobbs, but my mom was saying, like, oh, she was a secretary of such and such, and she would never do that. So I'm like, okay, I guess you just love this woman, and facts don't matter. Whatever.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. That's one reason you can't break people out of the matrix. They're just certain people that, that's my person. Why? Well, it just is,
Yeah. I think, I'm not to bash on my mom, but she really is the, by far, most extreme example I've seen of people who just do mental gymnastics on behalf of Joe Biden. Like, when I showed her the clip where he shakes hands with someone who isn't there and just holds out his hand, and she's like, oh, he's just pointing to the crowd. And I'm like, this is Orwellian.
Right.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, but it really speaks...
Thanks for dinner.
speaks to the power of suggestion, Or the power of telling people, making people believe in something that isn't real. Real, intelligent, not psychotic people who can get sold a bill of goods and believe it, buy into it.
Yeah.
It's an incredible, interesting phenomenon.
Well, and this is why I say that I think, we a lot of people will say, like we've said, AOC is a war hawk, fake, phony, whatever. But at the end of the day, to me, I think the media is just, in my opinion, way more evil than the actual politicians. Like, I was talking about this with my friend from Revere last night, and the way I was putting it was
Great question.
Well, the way I put it is like, the politicians are like...
I'm listening. I gotta remember to do this at the end of our session.
Yeah. The politicians are like, they're the McDonald's cooks that are cooking up these bills and forcing them down your throat, or they want you to buy their product. They want you to feast on these hamburgers and onion rings and be fat and content and think you're getting a sweet deal and whatever. But the media is like the PR advertisement wing of McDonald's that floods the internet and TVs and everything with misinformation on now that McDonald's is actually really good for you. And, you know, if you don't eat that McDonald's, that's white supremacy. You don't want to be a white supremacist, don't you? Like, and all this emotional blackmail and lies and manipulation. And it's like, if people just had the facts, they wouldn't eat the burger, you know? So, it's just, I think Malcolm X put it really well. The media has the power to make the innocent look guilty and the guilty look innocent. And that is beyond terrifying to me. And it's just one last example of how I think the media, even in its sort of flailing, decrepit state, it is still very powerful in that, for example, I think of just their own volition and campaigning, like if Obama and Biden and Kamala and all these people went town to town telling people to put, you know, Ukrainian flags out their window, maybe some people would. But with the media and social media and the online mass brainwashing and the TikToks and the propaganda, all of a sudden it's like we woke up and there was a Ukrainian flag on every fucking doorstep for a country no one knows a fucking thing about. That literally you can find articles, mainstream articles from just a few years ago saying, well, Ukraine is the most corrupt country on the planet. Oh, does Ukraine have a neo-Nazi problem? Question mark. And it's like, now they're just like the greatest. We love them more than we love ourselves, basically. It's really bizarre.
Whereas they've always been a questionable entity. I mean, always been always surrounded by.
Well, there's too much dirty.
And
I think there's too much dirty money and dirty deals there for people to just let Putin take that shit over.
Absolutely.
I think that's what it really comes down to.
I mean, there's like these mini mafias in those, you know, Eastern Bloc. Well, it's not, I don't know if that's considered Eastern Bloc, but it's, you know, all those countries in that area. There's just so much sub-government stuff going on, you know. Even within Russia, I mean, how many sub-governments are there that, you know, their allegiance is to Putin? He runs the show, and he lets them get away with whatever the hell they want to do.
Right.
But he couldn't do it without them.
Yeah. So.
Like mini, call them what you want, you call them what you want. I call them like mini mafias.
Yeah. And are these like government mafias, or are these actual mafias that are basically working with the government?
I'm talking about the second kind. But there are government mini mafias too. I mean, I think it's both.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And, you know, my friend was telling me about how back in the days it was similar here, where the mafia would just, like, show up at a company. You're putting our people here. We'll get the concrete from here. You know, this guy's just going to have a sit-in job. Yeah. It's all just a shakedown. And it was really interesting because, as an unexpected pivot, his dad apparently was saying how, like, all this sort of diversity, inclusion stuff they're pushing in the corporate world is basically the same thing. It's a shakedown of saying, you're putting my people here, 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 and here, and if you don't, you're a white supremacist. Just non-stop emotional blackmail and leveraging just the sort of like all the dark history that we're kind of propagandized to from infancy, really. You know, I don't know if we want to segue into Kanye or you want to stay on this subject because it kind of blends in.
If you think it blends in, go ahead, stay with it.
Yeah, so I listened to the Drink Champs interview.
The Dream Champs?
Drink
Champs, okay.
That's the 3-hour one where that was sort of the big one where it's been pulled down a bunch. You know, I had to watch like 3 separate videos to get through the full thing because it kept getting taken down and shit. So, that was the really infamous one that put him in the spotlight and catapulted him into his like second coming of Hitler mode. Mm-hmm. And there's been another big interview recently with Lex Friedman. Are you familiar with that guy?
To some degree.
Yeah, he's a MIT robotics guy, and
Okay.
Usually he interviews like a lot of scientists and professors and stuff, but he'll like every now and then have like a Tim Dillon or a Joe Rogan on, like someone a little less academic, let's say. And there was a lot of controversy over, I've seen, a lot of mixed reactions to this interview with Lex, because Lex is Jewish, and I do think, understandably, he took, some of the things Kanye was saying the wrong way. And I don't know, a lot of people, have been saying that Lex is a pussy, he's a gatekeeper, he's like shutting A down or whatever. And I do agree that I think he was a bit condescending in that interview, like, oh, come on, I just care about you, come see the light, whatever. But I do think Lex had a very good point as far as I think it'd be way more interesting and kind of ballsy for Kanye to call out specific individuals as opposed to just blanket Jewish media, Jewish media, Jewish media. And when he gets on about Soros, it's epic. He, in that interview, started yelling about Howard Stern and how no one loves him, and
no one loves Howard Stern,
and how Kanye has just said his name for the first time, and like is the first time anyone said his name in 10 years, and
Howard
blah blah
Stern.
blah. Howard Stern, yeah. Because I guess Stern wanted him to apologize and shit, but it's some stuff that I want to do some research on, because obviously I said the media's, I just said 5 minutes ago, the media is more evil than even politicians. Imagine that.
They can accomplish more.
Yeah, they have a certain, I think it's the same reason people like Jesse Kelly say, I'm probably better off just staying on the radio show than actually running for office. You know what I mean? A lot of talking heads kind of feel that way on some level, I think. But
yeah, so why do you think they don't do that, though?
I'm sorry, who doesn't do what?
Why they don't just stay out of the limelight?
Who are you talking about?
In general, you mentioned somebody, instead of I'm better off doing this, than being out front. You were giving some example of, I don't know, some politician, and he said he would probably think he'd be better off just staying back,
Oh, no, yeah, Jesse Kelly doing, I think in this environment, I think there's a lot to be said about people who can totally speak without filter, because they have no, the second you become a politician, there are people giving you money, and you've got to, on some level, you just got to play ball. You can't be totally, you can't fucking Yeezy it and just go totally uncensored, because you'll get fucking canceled. And, Adidas will fucking ruin your fucking steal, hundreds of millions from you or whatever.
And then taking that further, that you might be able to accomplish more by staying out of the limelight, being the ghostwriter, so to speak.
Yeah.
Calling all the shots from behind the curtains.
Yeah.
That you could be more powerful, certainly in many ways. And every powerful person has those people.
Yeah. No, I think the real power, the truly powerful people are the ones who exactly don't, they have a front man. That's the thing, it's like the Sopranos, like the fucking mafia. It's, they had, what's his name, Junior? Just as like the quote unquote figurehead to take all the fucking heat while everyone else is like still operating, off the radar. So, because once, does George Soros give a lot of interviews? I don't know.
I've never seen him interviewed.
I've heard of one where he was talking about how delightful it was to, snitch out his fellow Jews to the Nazis or some crazy fucking shit. Some really demented. Like, I think he said it was the best time of his life or some fucked up crazy shit. I'd have to verify that. But, just to get back to a point, I do want to look on this before speaking on it at length, because do I think Jews control the media? No. Nah. Is Chris Cuomo? Actually, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't name too many names, but either way, it doesn't really matter, because it's like, there's probably people they answer to, and I almost feel like all trails. See, I want to make the CIA the new Jew, as in the new scapegoat, as in the new conspiracy. They run everything. I would much rather live in that world, because is there going to be a CIA support group who's going to say, remember, I don't know, what's the equivalent of the CIA's Holocaust? They don't have one. You know what I mean? So you can't.
That you know of.
Well, true. I mean, I suppose I mean suffering a Holocaust as opposed to inflicting them on other countries.
You don't know how many coups, let's say, for instance, in other countries that they orchestrated.
Yeah, exactly.
How many wars?
Exactly.
How many,
And we'll never fucking know.
You'll never know.
And, there was some breaking points released about how someone was talking about it. The CIA, basically whacked JFK, and they co-opted Harvey Lee and all these different things because, what was it? They struggling to remember, but the CIA, I think they were pissed over Bay of Pigs or something, even though it was their plan. I don't know. I'd have to review this shit. But there is something I want to do a little research and come back to as far as Jewish influence within the media. And I'll just use that word influence as opposed to like domination or whatever. Because Anomaly mentioned this, and my friend from Revere who's Jewish mentioned this. I can't remember the guy. My friend couldn't remember who it was, but he knew that not who Anomaly was talking about as far as this Jewish figure who was like, oh hell yeah, we're running the media.
What's Anomaly?
Anomaly is that rapper / news commentator. He's got like the Jesus hair, and he wears the God bless hats, and yeah, and he made that I Like Trump song, even though he kind of hates Trump now.
Right.
Yeah. But that'll be something to follow up for another day to see on what level. And, as I was saying with my friend, I mean, once you switch Jew with CIA, all of a sudden everything just like sounds more like the CIA wanted to take over Hollywood. Because when Hollywood, it's like, of course you want to have influence over what people are consuming and have conversations before you release certain movies, the same way that the Mafia, when they were making The Godfather, they went through I can't remember who it was, but he went through the script. He's like, you're taking out this, you are not saying Cosa Nostra anywhere in this fucking movie, and that movie got a lot of things right and was accurate according to like Sammy the Bull and other things, but there were things specifically that the Mafia was like, you're keeping this the fuck out.
Right.
Capiche?
Exactly. Yep.
And I feel like the CIA is on some level, I feel like it's totally justified in the sense that if I was in the CIA in the 50s, I wouldn't want to see communist propaganda fucking going everywhere. But once you have that justification, you get that God complex of, well, I know what's right. I know what everyone needs to fucking consume. And, for a while I was pro-America, and now I think probably because the CIA works for China more than they do us, that everything they're pushing is like just anti-American. We're destroying our oil reserves and doing all this. Really, since day one, it's felt like just non-stop self-sabotage.
Because what you're saying is basically, it's hard to trust the CIA.
Oh, yeah.
It's hard to trust the FBI.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to trust any of those, right now, any of those, quote, law enforcement related agencies. Because over the past few years, they've just shown so much corruption. From then there's so many corrupt politicians, big time.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton, the whole Clinton, power machine. It'd be interesting to see what comes out from the girlfriend of the sex molester there. If she's somebody tried to she was gonna give an interview and they shut her up, but she's gonna come out with some stuff anyway on Bill Clinton. Giselli, or whatever I pronounce her name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know all of Bill Clinton's victims, but I know Hillary had a nice little fucking sit down with them to shut them the fuck up. Like, that's your champion for a woman right there. Jesus fucking Christ, bro. But yeah, never mind.
Yeah, there's a lot there. It's probably too much to get into here. like including the Nancy Pelosi issue from yesterday or the day before,
I remember my
breaking into her house. You know.
yeah, I'll talk about that, but I just remember the thought I lost a second ago. I think we're at a very potentially interesting inflection point as far as the universal faith